The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 142. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of courageous women finding their inner journey to self-confidence 5 days a week. Want to learn how you can change your inner beliefs and attitudes? Download a free copy of the ebook by visiting thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a special lady who's all the way from Ireland. She is a business mentor, and she's the sweetest lady you will ever meet. I met her a couple times at some events, and I just had to have her on and share her story with you, with the listeners. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Niamh Arthur. Niamh, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Hi, Sheena. Yeah, I'm good. Actually, my name is pronounced Niamh. It's one of these funny Irish names that does not sound like it looks.
I am so sorry.
Don't worry. I literally have had that all my life. So yeah, Sheena, I am, as you said, I'm over here in Ireland. I didn't grow up in Ireland. I actually grew up in the States. So I have an American accent, but I've lived in Ireland for the last 11, 12, 13 years of my life. And yeah, I'm a business mentor. I create programs online, and I help people to create online businesses that are based on who they are and what they want to bring out into the world.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And, what's your cultural background?
Well, yeah, so I grew up in California and actually grew up on Stanford campus, so in a really very academic household. My dad was Irish and my mom was American. So it's very much in the sort of academic arena. The sort of expectation was that we'd all go on to higher education and get a really good job. So when I went on to become an entrepreneur, it was kind of a brand new thing to my family. But they were all super, super supportive. They don't totally get it, but they're all for it.
Awesome. And that's great because sometimes, when you're an entrepreneur and sometimes your family doesn't agree with what you do. And there are families like that. There are families who just tell you to go get a job and just do what everyone else does. There are other parents who will support you, and there are other parents who don't get what you're doing, but they'll support you anyway, right?
I know. They're kind of like, well, it sounds like you're happy, so go for it.
Well, that's pretty awesome. And Niamh, what's your favorite self-confidence quote?
Oh, my absolute favorite one is, "It's hard to lead the cavalry charge if you think you look funny on a horse," by Adlai Stevenson. I absolutely love it because I think it brings that sort of humor about self-confidence, like how ridiculous it is that, that we might be worried about what we'd look on the horse when we're trying to, charge into battle.
I love it. And that's the first time I've actually heard that quote because, yeah, we're so afraid of what people might think of us if we look funny or if we sound, all these little things that go in our head that it's not even true sometimes, right? So, yeah. So I really love that analogy and that quote. And, in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
Oh, I think, well, for me, it's absolutely about allowing yourself the space to make mistakes while never cutting off your self-love. So just kind of ensuring that, that it's kind of like you treat yourself almost like a child. When a child is trying to do something, they're experimenting, they're learning, we're never hard on them when they make mistakes. We allow that to be part of that process. And I think for me, that is the core of self-confidence, when you can do that for yourself and provide that kind of space for yourself.
I love it. And it's true, right? Especially, I think with women, we're always so hard on ourselves. If we make the smallest mistake, it's like, you're no good. It's the end of the world. And
what's wrong with you?
Exactly, right? We have all these crazy things in our head, and we have to realize, we have to love ourselves regardless of the mistakes we make, regardless of our flaws. We just have to love ourselves for every single thing that we have. And, when we see it out of love, it makes a huge difference. So I really love that definition. And what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
Oh, I was a huge, huge perfectionist. So for me, it was always about what's the right way to do something. And if I couldn't figure out the right way, I didn't want to do it. So I would find myself having a lot of trouble actually moving forward, actually taking actions or moving towards something that I wanted, because I'd be continuously looking for how can I do it right. So I wouldn't take any steps until I could see, 3 steps in front of me and that I was going to do each of them perfectly. And, I always think it's sort of like the curse of having done some things, well. Like I was a pretty good student when I was in school. And so I sort of carried that mentality. I had when I was younger, I had a book that I had written on my book cover, Niamh always gets an A. And so this was something that was sort of, I drilled into myself. I have to do things right. I have to do things well. And then, when I began to move into entrepreneurship, where it's all sort of wobbly and weird and you never really know what's the right thing to do, I would get incredibly, incredibly frozen because of this perfection, trying to find the perfect path. And, like I said, I was really mean to myself in my head. It felt like, living with a high school mean girl in your own head, so telling you all the things that you're doing wrong. And so then I became really scared of making mistakes because of how much I would beat myself up. It's like the mistake itself wasn't bad, but I was so mean to myself when I made mistakes that I didn't want to move forward. So I guess it was like mostly being frozen. It was not nice, not pretty.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think we all go through that, right? I've gone through that for sure, just having that perfectionist syndrome and, just like self-sabotaging. It's like, why can't you get anything right? And because we always think we have to do things the right way. And sometimes when we do certain things, there's no right, wrong, good or bad, right? And I always believe like the universe has your back, and whatever path that you're going through, it's always going to lead you to the right way. Even if it doesn't look like it does, I know it will, right? So, what was that point in your life when you realize you didn't always have to do things in a perfect way, that you can do things certain ways where it still would work? I mean, what was that aha moment in your life?
Well, it was kind of a time in my life, and thinking back, I realized it was probably when I decided to quit my job, because I was on maternity leave and I was trying to figure out internet marketing in time to not have to go back from maternity leave. And then finally I just suddenly was like, why don't I just quit now? And then like I hadn't created any kind of success, but I was like, if I just close that door and call my job and tell them I'm not going to come back from maternity leave, then I'm not doing the perfect thing. I'm not doing it the way I plan to do it. But then I can move forward from there. And so I did that. And then it kind of released me. It made me feel a lot more free. And then what I realized is, I had done all this sort of research trying to figure out what people do online and how to create success, because I was trying to do this perfect path thing. And the very thing that frustrated me turned out to be the thing that gave me the aha moment, So what frustrated me was everyone did things differently. So for every rule that someone would say, you have to do things this way, there'd be someone else who had a thriving, successful business who broke that rule. And so I was getting really mad. I was like, nobody agrees with each other about the right way. And then it's like it hit me one day where I was like, wait a minute, they don't agree. That means there is no right way, because all of these people do have success. So I realized, that there are no rules, there's no right way. And then as soon as I realized there was no right way, I could stop looking for it. And then I just had this, ultimate freedom that if there was no rules, there was no perfect. If there was no perfect, I could just be me. And I started to then, proceed forward, actually able to move.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And, it's great, especially in entrepreneurship, you can be yourself and find different ways to create, a successful business, right? And like you said, there's no right, wrong, good or bad, right? Each person has their own skills and talents to bring to the table. And, I'm glad you're able to realize that, because there's still so many people out there who are like, I just want the secret. Just give me the secret, and I'll be, and I was like that too. It's like, just give me the secret, and the real secret is you just got to do it, right? And especially in entrepreneurship, it's all testing and measuring, and trying out different things and taking positive risks to be able to live the life that you want. So after that realization, what's your life like now?
Oh, it's completely transformed. At that point, I really began to play much more in my marketing. And after a bit of play, I really found my path, so I kind of gave myself room to, as you say, experiment, see what worked, see what didn't work. And then the things that worked, I kind of just followed that thread. So because there was no perfect, I was like, okay, well, then I can do the marketing that I want to do. I don't have to do anything that feels not me. So I began to, sort of let go of the whip and let go of the internal mean girl. And I started to then have ideas, because I realized that in all of this pressure I was putting on myself, I did not want to be wrong. So I wouldn't come up with any ideas. But in this new sense of freedom, I came up with new ideas. I could try them. They would work. They wouldn't work. But over time, I really began to create my own marketing. And that gave me the courage to then, begin to create my own products and my own services and then help other people, on their business path, putting together the businesses that worked for them. And so I really moved into a space of alignment where I could love myself and be kind to myself and still have a successful business. I learned that I didn't have to have that whip to create what I wanted to create.
Awesome. And I'm glad you're able to, have a thriving business and love yourself at the same time. And I think that's one of the biggest things that, especially as women, we have to learn to love ourselves and just accept everything that we are, right? I mean, I'm still working on that as well because, I'm not like this superhuman, right?
No, it's always a work in progress.
Yeah, totally, right? But I mean, it just makes things so much easier, right? I mean, the mean girl in your head kind of starts to fade away, right? And that little girl inside you feels more loved and knows that whatever she does, she will always be loved. And not a lot of people talk about these things, right? I mean, our society's so caught up with what the Kardashians are wearing or who won the Oscars. And it's like, the more we talk about self-awareness and self-love, more people will start realizing that it's always been within them and they're just asking the wrong questions. So Niamh, if there's a woman who's listening to your episode, she may be on her own journey to self-confidence, what would be that one tip you would give to her?
I think just give yourself space. Give yourself the space to mess up, no internal whip, no internal mean girl or punishment, and treat whatever comes up for you, whatever ideas or interests or excitement, treat those ideas almost like a little child within you where they have the space to explore and to learn and to fall over and to mess up and to try and move forward. And if you can still love whatever comes out, the messiness, love the mistakes as much as you love the successes, you'll find that then you give yourself this freedom to move forward. To me, self-confidence, it's not about always being bravery and always knowing that you're going to have or you're going to do well or anything like that, because you don't. You still make mistakes and you still sometimes feel silly and you're never going to be perfect. But if you have the space to mess up, you'll find you're so much more free and you begin to move and you get out of that frozen state. So just give yourself a little bit of space, see what comes up, continually respond with love no matter what happens, and you'll find you have more access to those inner ideas and your inner compass, which can then lead you to the full expression of you. Whatever it is that you want to create and express in the world, you can if you just allow yourself to. It doesn't have to be scary and it doesn't have to be hard.
Thank you for that tip. And I totally agree, right? Sometimes, giving space to yourself or just, being in your own company is the greatest thing you could ever do, because then you find more about yourself that you never thought was possible. And, it's really great advice. So thanks for sharing that. And if our listeners want to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, maybe, get to know more about the products and services that you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yes, yeah. And the best place to find me at the moment would be on tailormadeonlinebusiness.com. That's where you'll find my main programs. And you can always find me on Facebook at Niamh Arthur. I'm the Niamh Arthur on Facebook. Niamh is spelled Niamh.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Niamh, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Niamh's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I really just want to thank Niamh for taking the time to share her story with us. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Sheena. This is amazing.
Thank you so much. It's just an honor to have you on. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. Visit thetaoofselfconfidence.com for links to everything we chatted about today, as well as killer resources, gifts, and so much more. Subscribe to The Tao of Self-Confidence on iTunes or Stitcher to hear more stories of amazing women finding their inner journey to self-confidence.